apparently, Verizon's been having network issues for some time, and it just crapped out on me. I should have restarted my phone before I got into all of this. So I know that this is probably going to screw up some of the things that I got used to and the views and all that other stuff. But I'm going to give it a few minutes for everybody to pop back in over here. I do apologize for any of this screw up, but gotta love what's going on with the networks. If you haven't noticed, since the whole AT&T thing, everything seems to have kind of gone a little sideways, and it is it just I've noticed that I've been having a lot more network issues. A lot of the apps that I use are going down regularly. A lot of the things that I do on a regular basis as far as on my phone seem to really be going down, and I don't understand what's going on. So looks like I got one person back over here. Hey, what happened over there? Did it close out on your side, or is it still showing that I'm live over there on that one? Because for some reason, again, my phone crapped out. Hey, Matthew. yeah, yeah, my phone, I've been having network issues, and I keep having to, hey, Jeremy, I've been having to reset my phone a lot more, and even reset the network settings, because for some reason, like I said, like the Burger King app has been down it was down yesterday, and then apparently the store that I normally go to, that one is down. I have, Cash App was down for a little bit. I'm even seeing some weird stuff. Okay, so it was in a loop. Okay, well, I don't know how to fix it yet. I'll try and figure out how to fix it. But, even Cash App went down for a minute. I have noticed that a lot of these apps are going down. Ever since the whole AT&T thing, it seems like it's been something that is happening on a regular basis. And I'm not exactly sure what it is. Hey, Joe, nice to see you. But go back in and retitle this after the live stream is over. But what I wanted to talk about is the homeless crisis and the whole stigma of get a job bum. Okay, because actually, to say something on that, one of the best comments I read yesterday was somebody talking about how he got offered a job. He says, hey, he doesn't come with $30 an hour under the table, and and I can work whenever I want. And the guy gets mad at him and says no, because that's what he was making. Just flying a sign. I don't make $30 an hour. Sometimes I'll make $30 an hour, but usually I average about anywhere between 10 and 25 an hour if I fly a sign. But I also don't fly a sign for more than 2 hours. You don't want to burn an area out. Plus, it also has to do with what's going on in your head. So, like on the days I'm like, I really don't want to go fly a sign. I've had to learn not to go fly a sign. Because all it does is that's the day where I'm making like $5 an hour. It doesn't really work for me. Whereas with when I'm ready to go do it, I'm in the mindset to go do it. That's when I make the money, because the thing is it has to do with concentration and being able to, like with the way that I fly my sign, it's an interactive sign. So I'm interacting with the drivers as they're going by. They're taking pictures of me. They're making comments. They're doing this. They're doing that. And it is it requires some interaction. I'm actually doing some sort of work. I'm not just standing there going, please feel sorry for me and give me money. I'm like, it's the too ugly to prostitute. And you'll have people that come up and say, oh yeah, that side is true. And then you'll have people come up and say, man, that's a classic, or they'll laugh at you, or hey, I want a picture, or they'll have some sort of they have some sort of thing that they want to say, like, religious or whatever, God loves you, and I take that with a grain of salt. But when you're out there flying a sign, at least the way that I do it, and I like it doing this way, because even on the days where I have like a really, really bad day, flying a sign puts me in a better mood, because I get to watch people laugh. I get to interact with people because it gives a positive ambiance. People it creates that positive vibe and takes a shit day and goes back into a much, much better day. But Um, so let me kind of, as now as looks like people are coming in, I've switched over the other live stream. For some reason, my phone crapped out, so I had to restart this. But anyways, so let's talk about the homeless crisis. And I'm pulling this. There's three people that I watch when it comes to getting my news about what's going on in the economy. George Gammon, he'll educate you on it. You have Economic Ninja, who it's not necessarily doom and gloom, but he does some of the best articles. Like one of the things that he said yesterday, I'm hoping to parrot this because I want to support him in the boycott of Tyson that he's talking about. So there's this small town here in America that has a Tyson factory, and I guess they have like 1,200 people. Well, Tyson's shutting down that factory, and I guess they're relocating it to New York, and they want to hire 50,000 migrants so that they could help alleviate the cost that's on the system. 50,000 jobs. You're going to hire 50,000 migrants. How many people do these people have working for them? And their whole excuse was, well, they just didn't have enough employees to be able to have a second shift. Well, let's really talk about this. So $10 an hour is about what most places are going to pay you. Although technically, from what I understand, $15 an hour is the minimum wage, but the companies are actually not abiding by it, and because nobody will actually stand up and say anything, is why companies are actually getting away with this whole paying them $10, $12 an hour. If you're making $10 an hour pre-tax, you're making $1,600 to about, let's say, about $1,780 a month if you're working 40 hours a week. Okay, take about 20% off of that in taxes. You're making about $1,400-$1,500. Okay, now you want to go pay for a one-bedroom apartment. And let's just say, because I hear that people have been telling me, oh yeah, a one-bedroom apartment is, it's not $1,000 anymore. It's like $1,200-$1,300. But let's just say that you find a one-bedroom apartment for $900. Okay. And so now what that does, that leaves you $500 left over just to be able to pay your electricity. Most of these places, so when my grandfather, when he owned his properties, he always paid water and garbage because he wanted to make sure that those services were always on. It only recently, like when I first started renting apartments in my mid to late 20s, because I always rented roommates up until that point in time. I always expected that the landlord would pay water, sewer, garbage, and I would cover the electric and whatever other bills that I want. But you've got electric. You're going to be paying at least $150 a month unless you figure out ways to deal with the elements or not even use it. I mean, just using the charging your phone and just turning on the lights at night and maybe running a dishwasher or cooking with an electric stove, things like that. That's going to draw on the power, and if they're not efficient in the power in which they use, well, you're going to see a high electric bill. So now you go from $900 to now you're paying $1,050. Plus, you know what? I remember when I was one of the more expensive apartments. It was shared utilities or for the water. And that way you paid for like all the water that they use to keep the flora and the fauna and all that stuff up. And, it was like, even back in 2008, it was like almost $100 a month. And so you had, you're in a building in kind of like a fourplex, multiple fourplexes. And so you got one person in there that just runs the water, is wasteful with water, just uses water like it's going out of style, and so everybody else has to pay for it. And a lot of places are now starting to pick that up. Okay, and and so you're looking at at $10 an hour. Now you've got you're up from $1,050 to, let's just say, to about 11 and a quarter. And then if you've got a car, you've got a car note, unless you were smart enough to buy your car outright, but that's a clunker. And then you got to pay for maintenance. You got to pay for oil changes. You got to pay for tires. It's like $400 to $800 just to replace those tires, and you got to do it a couple times a year. And plus, you got to talk about insurance and how insurance is going up, and all those things. And so at $10 an hour, how can you pay your bills? How can you go work anywhere and pay a single bill for and live? Now, let's say you go into roommate situations, and I'll tell you my experience in roommate situations. When you're in your early 20s, that's a cool time to do roommates, because you're still young, you're still trying to get girls, so that means you're clean. That means that you take care of your area. Being in a younger household, it's much cleaner. But like when I was in Texas and I rented roommates, and I'm in my early 40s. I just turned around 40, and my roommates are about my age or older. Man, those guys are slobs. It's like I literally I had to complain about how slobbish these people were. And like one guy pissed all over the bathroom. You have people that just leave their dishes in the sink, and you're fighting off bugs and things like that. And the thing is when you get to a certain age, if you're in a roommate situation, there's something wrong with you. Okay, but that's actually where people are going to be forced to at this point in time, because whereas I was paying $1,200 a month for a like one of those not an extended stay, but it was something like that. It was like it was because the longer you stay there, the more your rent goes down. So it started off at about 1,500 and worked its way down to about 11 something. Okay, after I paid for everything, and we're not even talking about internet, even because you need internet because you got Netflix and all this other stuff. What about all those subscriptions that you have? What about if you just want to go out and go hang out with some friends and maybe go to a bar or go paintballing or go shoot a game of pool, stuff like that? Do you even have money to be able to do that? So this is getting to a point where not only is it creating the perfect storm for a homeless crisis, but it's also it's also bringing in a person. Why do I want to go to work if I don't even have a dollar to go play on? Because the thing is and one thing that I learned, I had a landlord teach me this. She says, look, you go out, you blow your money, and you just go out, you blow your money, and you have nothing to show for it. You should go and buy yourself something that's going to be long lasting. So I used to go to Meyer and Frank before they went bankrupt, and so in the Sunday paper they had a 50% off, and then you would go to clearance and they had 50% off. So by the end of it, I was getting $300 worth of clothes for like $25. It was fantastic. I mean, I was getting cardigan sweaters. I was living like I looked like I was a wealthy person, because I was going to a high-end store and buying things as if I was buying them at Walmart, and they were good quality. I found a perfect pair of brand of slacks that I like, but they went out of business as well. Because a lot of these places, they get new shipments every week. So in order to be able to make room for the new shipments, they put everything on clearance, and you got to wait for that. Okay. But how does a person live on $10 an hour? Even on $15 an hour? How do you live? You don't live. Okay. You cannot live on less than, at least right now, if you want to be able to pay rent, pay your bills, have like a subscription to Netflix, maybe go out with your friends once a week and spend like $50, and be able to afford a car, insurance, maintenance, you need something like $20. Okay. If you're not getting $20 an hour, how are you surviving? And those that are surviving on less than $20 an hour, like I just saw Joe Morgan say, you exist, you don't live. Yeah, you're existing. How do you do something like that? And what motivation do you have to go to work? Okay, you were sold this thing of you get an education, you get a job, and you can live, and you're gonna be okay. Okay, you're going to be able to have money to go out and play with your friends and stuff like that. Now, when you're younger, yeah, you got to start out at the bottom and work your way up. And, at the older you get, the more experience you have, the more that you can demand to get paid. Okay. And, it's how do you survive? Like back then you could survive, but you can't survive right now. So now you're going to have a lot of people that are like, yeah, just go get a job, Bumm. Well, hold on a second here. How do you get a job when that is what you're looking at? I mean, and then you have like, okay, yeah, we're giving $15 an hour minimum wage as a minimum wage, but then how much does everything else go up? How much does your food go up? How much does your rent go up? Because now that everybody has to get $15 an hour, it just dilutes the market, and somebody who's making $17 an hour is now making less because now everybody else is making $15 an hour when they were making 12, okay, or making 10. Okay, so how do you expect to be able to, not only as a company, compete and to be able to attract employees that want to show up to work, and then get them to do a good job and treat the business as if it was theirs? Now, a lot of people tend to want to go work for these large corporations, which is hurting these small businesses, because when I own my janitorial business, owning it in Texas, Texas has 25% of the small businesses, or the businesses that are owned in the state of Texas, are owned by undocumented immigrants, okay? And they are in three main categories: landscaping, cleaning, and construction. So I owned a janitorial business, so you can imagine who I'm competing with. They're paying their people $7 an hour. I can't get anybody to come to work for me for less than 12, okay? They're charging 12 and $13 a man hour because they can pay their people, $7 an hour under the table, and like, how does a business compete with that, on top of trying to compete with these larger companies where, they make so much that, yeah, it cuts into their profit, but they can also afford automation. So for example, I was right before I closed my janitorial business, I was being marketed by a company. They're like, hey, would you like to buy an auto scrubber for, it's AI, so that you don't have to rely on employees. It'll work 24/7, and it costs $60,000 to buy this thing. Now, I spent $2,000 on my auto scrubber because I went with a corded one versus a one with a battery in it. One with a battery in it would have cost me about $4,000 to $5,000. But now they want you to pay $60,000 for this auto scrubber, okay? And not only that, you got to pay $5,000 a year to be able to license the software that will do it. So the only way I could actually justify being able to buy something like that is to have something where I am like a department store where I've got to auto scrub 3 or 4 times a day to keep the store clean, things like that, to be able to justify the hours, because it becomes so expensive. But some company like Jana King, they can afford it, and what they'll do is they'll move it around, and now all of a sudden their floor care crew has one less task that they have to do, which means that there's one less person that they have to hire, or 3 less people that they have to hire, because now they're automating the workforce, because this is the only way that companies can actually survive the high wages, the high inflation, and all the dumb crap that we've got going on here. And so all of this stuff is creating this giant soup for this homeless crisis. Now, you guys have heard me talk, especially if you've been following me since the beginning. There has been I have been talking about the Great Dispossession, because a guy that I read regularly, he gives prophecies and predictions, and when he gives a prediction, that means it's going to happen. A prophecy is a warning. Okay, that's his words, not mine. Okay, and I know this because I just listened to his most recent contact report, which was put out yesterday. And it had some disturbing things to put in there, as far as what things are going on. But he started talking about this years ago, about how there was going to be a global economic collapse, and that the elites were going to take control of everything, that we were going to go back into like a medieval era, a medieval style of living, and everybody was going to be dispossessed. And then all of a sudden we see you will own nothing and be happy. Well, that's dispossession, and it becomes cheaper to rent it, because if you rent it, you only need it for a short period of time. So I rent a car, it costs me $20, but I'm going to make $50 using that car. So now that actually makes sense for me to go rent that car for a couple of hours, so I can get a ride to work, drop it off here, and and that way I can have control over what time I get to work and whether or not I'm on time. Okay, now you're going to be renting a car, you're not going to be buying a car. You're going to be renting a TV because maybe tomorrow you might not have a job because your job just got automated, either through robotics or artificial intelligence. And that's another thing that they're starting to talk about here on YouTube, is that they're expecting that YouTube is going to take it is going to become more global than what it already is. Okay, as far as its footprint within society. And the previous CEO was like, no, we're going to ban artificial intelligence. We don't want artificial intelligence to have an unfair advantage. But now the new CEO, he wants to focus on shorts because you don't have to pay creators much. You've got to get at least 10 million views a month in order to make somewhat of a livable income. And then you're going to be competing with artificial intelligence, because now he thinks that artificial intelligence is the wave of the future. But that is also a Google product. Okay, and if Google has so many different products, and some of them fail and some of them are successful, and they want this one to be successful because it has a lot of implications, but we are not really thinking about the long-term negative consequences. So to be able to tell somebody to go out and get a job is to expect them to become a serf, to become a slave. And most of the people that say this are really, they have good jobs. They manage, they're old enough to where they're probably close to retirement. They got to enjoy the system when the system was doing good. But and I'm in my 40s, I got to enjoy the system being good for about 10 or 15 years before it really went to crap. People there in the 50s and 60s, they got to enjoy the system their whole life. Like my old man will not feel the crunch of this economic collapse because he's retired. He collects Social Security. He's got his Army retirement. He's got his retirement from being a school bus driver, and then he gets his Social Security because back in that time it was abundance. We needed workers in the factories and stuff like that. But now our population is so big, and now they're shrinking the workforce and the need for the workforce, that the average person, going out and getting a job really isn't going to do anything other than maybe give you something to eat, and you're still going to have to live outside. You're going to have to live in your car. There are more and more reports that are being talked about where people are living in their car while working full-time jobs because they can't actually afford rent, but they still want to work because, everybody wants to work. If you think that people are lazy and don't want to work, no, that's not really the truth. That is propaganda that is meant to divide you and me against each other. Even me, I love to work. You give me a job that's going to pay me enough to put a roof over my head and have a few bucks to go out on the weekend and maybe hang out with a couple of friends and have a beer and be able to afford my grocery bill that's going up exponentially, and to be able to afford this and that. If I can just afford the basics in life and still have a little bit of money to reward myself for giving up all my time, 40 hours a week to show up at the job, and maybe another 20 hours a week that I spend in transit to a job. So I'm giving up 60 hours of my week. And, what about, and I may get 2 days off, but those 2 days are spent being productive, doing things around the house. So do I actually ever really get any time off? No. Okay. And so this is why I keep talking about, you need to get into the digital economy. The only way that you're going to be able to survive this is the digital economy, because the way that the world is working until everything takes a crap is that without the digital economy, you're not going to be able to make a livable wage unless you have a super sought after skill that most people don't have. And that means you need to be in robotics, electrical engineering, software design, things that are to design, build, and maintain the electronic infrastructure that we have. Okay, whether it be security, because right now we're being told that for every one network security specialist that we have, China has 5 of them. Okay, so how do we compete with something like that when our people are facing a 5-to-1 shortage? Okay, and then not only that, our elites, because they're the corporate mandate, and this has been since the 1880s. I suggest you watch a documentary called The Corporation if you haven't already. In the 1880s, the corporate mandate went from being more like a nonprofit. So before the Civil War, when you started a company, it was for the benefit of the community. It was not there for profit. Okay, it was like what our not-for-profits are today. Okay, and so therefore it was there to benefit the company, and so on and so forth. But around the 1880s, the lobbyists and the legislation changed to where the corporate mandate was allowed to be for profit. Okay, that does not, they are not responsible to the local citizenry. They are not responsible to anybody other than their shareholders, and their shareholders only care about making money and profit. And that is really where our system went south, is starting in the 1880s. And so now we're getting to feel the repercussions about 150 years later, okay, of what happens when all you think about is greed, and you don't think about the effects of what it is that you're doing on the local population, on the resources, on the environment, on the ecosystem, and all of those things. See, prior to that, our ancestors were very thoughtful about how they impacted their environment, especially the ecosystem of nature, because nature supported us. You could walk anywhere, and I mean, when I was in Meridian, there's cotton growing on the side of the road, just growing wild. I mean, and I actually picked the cotton ball, and I was like, I looked it out. I was like, oh, okay. So it was kind of interesting just to be able to see something like that. And it just at some point. At some point, something's got to give. And with another article that Economic Ninja came out with was that the consumer is throwing the white flag out. So who's going to be affected when the consumer says, I can no longer spend, I'm going to start cutting back, I can't afford all of this, I need to be able to keep a roof over my head, the electricity and the water on. And I mean, I talked to a lady the other day who, because of her financial situation, all she can afford is rent. Her water hasn't been on for months. She doesn't have any electricity either. So she pays for her place, but there's no water, no electricity, which in a lot of ways is a health hazard. Okay, so that means she can't use the bathroom unless she creates an outhouse or a shit bucket. She can't really do anything other than, okay, I got a roof over my head. When it gets cold out, at least I don't get to feel the wind. When it's rain, at least I can stay dry, and at least I got a safe and secure place to keep my stuff. But things like this are going to happen more and more and more, because even with your job, you will only be able to afford rent because they're making rent prices go up. And then what is it? There's 3 companies that are going to own all the properties within, I don't know, the next 5-10 years. That there's home ownership is going to be a thing of the past. Because everybody's going to be a renter, because they skyrocketed the prices so much that not only what they were holding now gives them a higher net worth that they can now borrow against to go get things pennies on the dollar as these houses start to foreclose. Because Pinball Preparedness was talking about how the South is actually having a boom as far as housing, being able to find it. But the truth is in Florida, that's not true. Even though, you could go buy a house for a reasonable price in Florida. Not really. Whoever's telling you that is not on the ground. They're looking at it from another state, from another place, and they're just looking at the numbers, because right now the numbers are not telling the full story. I mean, people lie, numbers don't. Okay, but also, numbers will only give you so much of a narrative until you actually experience what's going on. In Gainesville, most of the senior citizens that are getting housed are getting special housing to where, for seniors, but it's 3 of them that have to rent a 3-bedroom apartment just so that they can bring the rent down enough to where they can actually have a few bucks left over to be able to buy, food, because a lot of people on Social Security don't even get food stamps the way that somebody like me who's homeless and has no income, I get more food stamps than somebody on Social Security. Somebody on Social Security maybe gets $100 a month. And if you're on Social Security and you get more than that, let me know. But from what I've been told is most Social Security recipients only get about $100 a month in. Hey, Thomas, nice to see you, man. I need to come over there and subscribe to your channel. I got unsubscribed. And that's why I've been trying to figure out what's going on. I just haven't done it yet. But this is what's going on. So when you sit there and tell somebody to go get a job, you're talking about things of the past. At this point in our economic future, the only way for you to be able to survive is to be able to work for yourself, which means you need to be able to leverage your time and be able to get the most. Because, as an employer, okay, so I make $15 an hour per man hour doing a contract, okay. I pay somebody $10 an hour, but they're only paying 60% of their taxes. I'm paying the other 40%. So now I'm not really paying them $10 an hour. I'm paying them $11 an hour. Plus, once I pay a certain amount of money, then I'm required to have unemployment insurance, which is like another 3%. So now I'm paying something about $11.50 an hour. Plus, I got to pay for chemicals, which is about another $1 to $1.50 an hour that I'm paying for chemicals and supplies and maintenance and all that stuff. So what am I? I'm actually maybe making $1 an hour off of a person, because the market is being pushed down by these immigrants. And this is another thing that is actually hurting the employee, because there was a white paper that I read. I think it was by a guy by the name of Carl Jung, an old guy I met in Eugene. He was, he wanted to educate me, and, you got to read Nietzsche and you got to read Carl Jung and stuff like that. And so the guy did 2 white papers that I read that were really good. One was on homelessness and the way that homelessness is in South America versus the way that we do it here. And the other one was about how we moved off the plantation into a different type of plantation. But the thing is these immigrants are coming that are coming across the border. What they're doing is they are pushing your wages down, okay? Because they will work for cheaper. 10 of them will live in a house together so that they can afford their bills, because for them that's normal. Whereas you and me, we're taught about individuality. You have your own place. You don't live with your friends. You don't live with your family. You live by yourself, okay? But with these immigrants that are coming across the border, what they are really doing is they are pushing our wages down and our benefits down, because they're willing to work for cheaper, because they come from a third world country and they're grateful to have anything. Whereas we grew up in the system and we know what we're supposed to have, because this is the promises that we were made. This is why we made the sacrifices and did our homework in school. This is why we made the sacrifices and educated ourselves to get a secondary and a post-secondary education, okay, so that we could go off and we could have those jobs. But now you got somebody that can come across the border, do that same job with the assistance of artificial intelligence and advanced robotics, and now all of a sudden, instead of paying you $25 an hour, which is what you're worth, and so you could pay your student loans, now you can't pay your student loans and you're getting $15 an hour, because this immigrant that comes across the border will do it for $10 an hour, and they're grateful for it. Okay, so so it looks like messages are getting deleted by YouTube. So I am talking about something a little too controversial, and I do apologize about this. Kind of try and keep your guys' comments a little bit nice, just so, because YouTube, I'm watching message retracted. So, and that means that YouTube has decided to pull that for whatever reason, and it's their own reasons. So, this is something that we as a civilization, as a society, this is something that we are dealing with. Okay. And so this is why I wanted to talk about, homelessness. The crisis is going through the roof. Okay, and this year is going to be the worst year. It's going to be worse than last year, and next year is going to be even worse. Okay, not only that, there is, from Billy Meyer's contact report, in case anybody's curious and likes the predictions of things that are coming, like I do, because I'm always my great uncle was an army psychic. Okay, and so I'm always fascinated to know what somebody who's clairvoyant can see into the future. And his warning was that if France and Germany and the UK, they had an emergency meeting for the European defense or whatever. Canadian Prepper talked about it last night, and I thought it was funny because Canadian Prepper talks about it the same day that the contact report gets released, but the contact report was like a week or two ago, because it's got to be translated from Swiss German to English. Okay, so and his thing was that that if France and Germany and England, I think was who he was saying, if they actually get to a point where they are able to continue the war then that will force and put boots on the ground. That will force the hot world war, because right now we're in a quasi world war, in the fact that we've got 50 countries that are supporting Ukraine against Russia, and then you've got countries that are supporting Russia against Ukraine. But right now, it's everybody supplying weapons, supplying arms, supplying mercenaries, supplying contractors, advisors, and stuff like that. They're not moving it to a hot war. But if France gets its way with what it's trying to do, because France has its own quest for being a world influencer like America and Britain and in their history that they have been, then it's going to lead to a hot war, and this hot war is going to lead to a nuclear war, and that's something that we should definitely keep an eye on, watch, and just kind of, because you're an observer at this point in time. Unless we can actually overturn the politicians that are in office right now, and get them out, and put politicians in that do not want to meddle in the affairs of others, and force both Ukraine and Russia to the negotiating table, and let them settle their differences that way, and maybe even Ukraine gets all of its territory back at this point, if we stop meddling and if Europe stops meddling in this affair. Otherwise, what we're doing is we're signing our own certificate. Okay, and it's not going to be pretty. And from an older prediction, or I don't know if it was prediction or prophecy, that from an older thing that Meyer had said, was that Warsaw, Berlin, and I can't remember what the third place, those are going to be some of the first places hit with tactical nukes. And knowing that you got, oh wait, it was Poland. It was Germany, France, and Poland that are in on this. It's the Weimar group is what they call themselves. Okay, and so so Warsaw is the capital of Poland. We know Berlin is the capital of Germany, and then another, I think it's Austria that's gonna end up that will get the third one, if I remember correctly. You got to go read it yourself to be able to learn. But those are going to be some of the that will end up getting it, and it will be because Putin is losing patience. And right now, what's going on is they're having their elections right now, and Putin is up for re-election for another 6-year term. He's expected to be popular enough. But what's going on is the Ukrainians are trying to mess with it by doing cross-border incursions, and even the Associated Press is showing footage of it, and it's really not pretty. Okay, and we are looking at this turning into a hot war by this winter, because I think once Putin gets the election, once he is elected, he's gonna play a little bit, but there's gonna come a point when, because I think really what the West is trying to do is to get the Russians to do the first strike, to be able to do it so they can go, oh, look, we're the victims here. Please, everybody needs to be on our sides because they're the aggressors. Because the thing is we're instigating it. It's just like a bully. A bully goes in, instigates it, then you slug them, and then you're the one that gets in trouble for the bully being a bully. So, it is what it is. And really, that's what we're doing, and we're playing this stupid game, and it's not going to end well for us, okay? So this is what I had to say on the subject. I actually talked quite a lot longer than I expected to, and I'm going to go through them and start reading your comments, answering your questions. If you got any more questions, man, you guys really lit up chat today. Thank you, okay? And hey, don't forget, you can leave a tip down in my tip jar. Or you can leave a super chat or a super thanks. All of that makes it to me. Tip jar makes it to me instantly, which then kind of helps me keep going. So, and then once I get done with these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys an update on what we're going to be doing, because I've been looking at where Sam and I are going to go because I get paid next Thursday, and probably by the following Monday we will be on a bus. And so I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. So, okay. I close. Okay. Electric stuff has been revolting. Yeah. You know what? Economic Ninja this morning was talking about how McDonald's payment system went down. I'll do, okay. People talk, okay. Never been through it. Hello. Okay. No matter how you slice it, we're pretty boned. You're right. Okay. How we been trying to reach you about your car? I love you, Hobo Thomas. You are awesome. All of you guys, you're my family. Okay. You're my YouTube family. It's about money and individuals. We can't get by on our own. Correct. So my apartment is $1,300 a month. Luckily, I'm subsidized housing, so only $300 a month. Yes, but the reason why it's $1,300 a month versus probably about $900 a month is because that subsidized housing is built in an upscale neighborhood, so they can still get as much money as they possibly can without while still pretending to help the poor and the needy. And the thing is it's not really helping the poor and the needy. Okay, it takes 3 people to live in a home that has money coming in. Yeah, I could see that. Okay, so you make $1,054 a month on SSDI. You know what? And I bet you're struggling just to make it. And if you weren't in like Section 8 subsidized housing and all that stuff, you wouldn't be able to make it at all. And I'm sure you probably struggled just to be able to buy your food. So I lost my income about 2 weeks ago. I'm having to start all over again. Oh, that's not good. Something that Economic Ninja was talking about in his doom and gloom one was that people are now not talking about the fact that they're losing their jobs. They got their pink slip and that they're on government dole. And I think that those might also be some of the trolls and hecklers because they feel bad about where they're at. They don't let their friends know, but they're in the same boat that you and I are. Okay, and I'll give you a couple of, okay, if you really want a job, okay, I can tell you a couple of places where you can go get a job if you're willing to relocate and you're willing to do your due diligence. Look for cities that have call centers. Okay, if you find a city that has a call center, like Killeen, Fort Hood has a call center. Portland, Oregon, or actually it's Beaverton, Oregon has a call center. That's actually for tech support. Let's see, but look up call centers. Also, there is in Chattanooga. When I was there, I went and I applied and I bugged them, and they never did hire me. But they're supposed to be able to be picking anybody off the streets that's willing to come work for them. But I didn't find that to be true. But there are, look at these chicken factories. Look at these. Look at production plants. Look at that, because a lot of them, like the small city, could have like way back when I was homeless the first time at the Dallas Life Foundation. You would have, companies like Tyson that would bus people in from all over the country if they were willing to work for them. Now, you had to sign a contract because they were paying for they'd pay for your bus ticket, they'd put you up, and they would give you your paycheck. So, they would take care of a lot of those relocation costs. But a lot of those companies were doing that way back in the early 2000s, and maybe they're still doing it. So if you really want a job and you're willing to relocate and stuff like that, that might be an option for you, okay? But also, don't expect to get paid too much either. I mean, I think they paid I think they pay $15 or $16 an hour in Chattanooga at the chicken factory, and you get like 2 weeks or a month of training before they put you out on the floor. But the more you cost, the more you're expected to output as far as production, so that the employer can make money. Because the truth is, in the hiring process, it takes the employer about 6 months to make his money back on the training and hiring process before he actually starts making a profit on you. An employer is taking a risk on an employee in the same way he took a risk on a business. So if you stay there for a couple of weeks and you leave, well, you're harming that employer, and it makes them weary about hiring other people. And I had that problem. I had a couple of people that did that, and I was like, yeah, I mean, it costs a lot, because you gotta pay for the interview, and you gotta take time off, and It becomes a pain in the ass. Okay, that way we are all slave. You just don't know it. Yeah, it's called there's a book about it. It's called Road to Serfdom. Okay, Massachusetts has $15 an hour. Yeah, what's the cost of living there? I think Bushcraft had a neighbor that was telling us that his neighbor's rent went from like $1,300 to $3,000. That might be part of the $15 an hour, is now they can charge more, because now but $3,000 a month is what you make on $15 an hour. Okay, so or actually no, you make about $2,200 a month. Okay, so you got to make $20 an hour to make about $3,000 a month. Okay, at this point, I say just break the law to survive. That's the thing. That's what a lot of people are doing now. That's why crime is skyrocketing. People are getting to the point where it's like, I can't afford to eat and I can't afford my bills, so I'm gonna pay my bills and I'm gonna go steal from the grocery store. I know a guy that would pay for about 80% of his stuff, and then he would kind of put some of the other stuff off to the side, and he'd walk out without paying for about 20% of his stuff so that he could keep his costs low and counter inflation, because this guy was the master at living cheap. He was a friend that I met in Cincinnati. So well, if you thought I was a tweaker, you know nothing about me. So I got one number from a White Castle. It was $5 before. Now it's $9. You have to make 100 grand just to get by nowadays. Yes, that is now the working poor, is 100 grand. And I was saying this a year ago. Problem is that there is nothing we can do to stop everyone from raising their prices. Actually, we can. It's called voting with your dollar. It's called being more self-sufficient. It's called making choices that are uncomfortable and are inconvenient. Okay, so the problem is that there's okay. I'll send you $100 if you smoke a shard on the stream. Well, the thing is, Catface, I don't do that. I never have, never will. Okay, I don't do the white dope. I've experimented in my 20s. I tried it a couple of times just because it was free. No, I don't do that stuff. So you enjoy that $100, man. I'm a stoner, and I'll have a drink every once in a while, but I do not do the white dope. So those of you that think that I do, you're nuts. So what's my PayPal? It's down in the description. So if you want to send me money through if you want to send me money through my tip jar, you can send it to me through Cash App or PayPal. It's down in the description. Halftime, they argue that the price increases are bogus of the price of gas, but when the gas prices go down, the costs affected by it don't come down. Yeah, because gas is on a 6-month futures. Okay, don't smoke the shards, use a clean needle. No, I don't do needles. That's why I'll never do heroin, as I don't like needles. I don't even like getting shots. No. I'm just a stoner. The reason why my teeth are falling out is because of a spider bite and continuous infections that I got, and it's slowly killing me in a lot of ways. I got bit by a brown recluse maybe 15 years ago, and the doctors lanced it and gave me the medication, but I was antibiotic resistant. And because I was antibiotic resistant, the infections kept spreading. I think they call it MRSA or something like that, because I can't beat these infections. I've drained them, but they keep coming back. And so that's why my teeth are falling out, because I've got an abscess I've had here for probably about 10 years, and I can't even get them to lance it. I've been trying to get it done. I tried to get it done in Gainesville twice, and all they want to do is just give me medication and put me on a cocktail of medications. So small businesses are dead unless they provide skill. Bigger places won't. Mostly what you're looking at now is subcontractors. I quit driving expenses now just for insurance. I walk or ride a bike now, and I bet you probably feel a lot better too, Hobo Thomas. Okay, not to mention tech companies control everything and aren't on your side. Well, they're not on anybody's side. Their whole mandate is for profit. One, and the other thing is that when the pandemic happened, the government came in there and forced itself to be the overlords. I mean, we found that out in the Twitter files. We found that out with a lot of stuff that's going on. Is that the government wants to control, and they're using their power to compel a lot of these companies to do it. Okay, I just turned 35. Okay, it's tough out here, man. We'll figure it out though. Yeah, we will. Okay, it's pretty bad when it's cheaper to drink your dinner. Yeah, tell me about it. I just went for a day's worth of food for me and Sam. I just spent $15. Okay, I make $130K in a household of 4 in southern Louisiana, and at 34 years old, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, only spending money on mortgage, food, gas, and tuition. Now, are you on a variable mortgage or are you on a fixed rate? Because if you're on a variable, that makes sense. But if you're on a fixed rate, how the hell are... Well, no, we're a debt-based system. If you're not in debt, you're not making money. That's how the rich make money, is they rack up debt. But that debt is what causes inflation. So, Okay, never got a chance to benefit off the good economy. I joined the Navy a couple of years after high school and entered the workforce after the Navy. Yeah, but what years was that? Um, okay, people are working longer and more second jobs than ever before. Yes, and people are working part-time jobs. And the government is cooking the employment numbers, making it look like we actually have more going on than what we actually do. Okay, so yeah, I'm no child left behind child. Oh man, I'm so sorry for you. I'm pretty sure I was left behind. Yeah, you know what? That's kind of like the quasi math that they like to do now. All those migrants are replace the workers. I heard really happening. Yes, it is. Economic Ninja was talking about it. I'm the same boat as far as homeless. You know, the thing is homelessness is not a bad thing because at the end of the day, you're only going to be a drug addict if that's kind of who you are. Okay. If you have that type of personality to where you become obsessive, you try something and you don't know how to walk away, that is something that you will have to that you're going to have to deal with, because I think that a lot of addiction has to deal with personality traits like obsessiveness and the inability to let things go. And so, I've been lucky, but it seems like the longer I stay out here, the more it seems like the option for that may be right around the corner. I'm hoping that things kind of get better for me as far as income and being able to be a little bit more comfortable out here, because I'm still living hand to mouth, but I'm not living I'm living better than this year than I did last year, but I'm still not living that good. Okay, so assume almost everything you were told growing up was a lie. Yeah, pretty much. Okay. Okay, I'm sober right now, wasn't my comment. Okay. Joe, are you the one that I commented on this morning about the states seceding? Because if that was you, that was a great video. They don't like when you talk about the border. No, they don't. After drinks, however, I get rather salty. I think we all do. Yep. Hobo Thomas is now Hobo Stove. I returned that comment. Spell check got me. Okay. Okay. Retracted. Okay. I heard to find me this way. It's hard. Okay. Okay. It's France. They will drink wine and forget. Yeah. Okay. We live in a way stranger world than you imagine. Yes, we do. The thing is that the truth is more entertaining than the fiction they give us. Okay. Also eat cheese. The politicians lost their minds. No, it's not that they lost their minds. They're drunk with power. And when you got somebody that's like, okay, it's like my mom. My mom tried this on me one time, and it really sucks because she was successful. So my mom, we were over at her friends, and she was trying to prove a point to her, to one of her friends that if she could get me to beat somebody up, and then she could get me to stop just like a dog. Okay, and so I figured out what was going on, and so my mom kept egging it on. And I said, I ain't gonna do it. I know what you're trying to do. I ain't gonna do it. Well, this kid thought he would be a really smart kid, and so he ended up egging me on until finally I had enough, and I picked him up, slammed him on the ground, and I was about ready to just. He was not going to make it out that day. And before I could even land my first punch, my mom stopped me in my first punch. Why did she do that? To prove how much power she had. Okay, to prove how much control she had, to be able to inflate her ego. That is what our politicians are doing, okay? Because in a lot of ways, our politicians are a reflection of who we are as a society. Not everybody, but a large enough majority, okay? No, the cash isn't going to run dry. The cash isn't going to run dry at all. I don't know, was here, I just got myself asked about a few days ago. Yeah, okay, 26 watching, only 3 likes. Okay. Yeah, that's what looks like it to me as well. Okay. 3 dots up in the top right. Yes. How to like a live. There should be a like button somewhere. Okay. On my phone, I slide the chat down, and it's there. Okay. The third world country living habits are very different. They expect slave wages, low labor rights, less freedoms. I actually had a customer. He's like, yeah, how much would it cost to clean my house? I said, well, it's going to cost you about $300, right? Because he had like a 5 or 6,000 square foot house, and he's like, oh, no, I'll pay you $45. I says, I ain't gonna come there clean. He's like, in my country, I have 3 people that show up and clean my whole entire house for a whole day for $45. I said, go back to your country, So, but yeah, I've had people try that with me. My rent went from $1,200 to $2,500. Holy cow. Bushcraft, how are you surviving? I could tell right now 15 is not enough. In Massachusetts wasn't good enough 10 years ago. For hours, you are so intelligent. I try to be. Okay, so the man is very intelligent, very well spoken. When I took my IQ test, my highest score was on my verbal skills. Even with brain damage, I managed to maintain my verbal skills. But I don't know. I that and being in sales for as long as I have, you have to learn how to speak well. I don't really think that I'm intelligent. I have the ability to sit back and look at both sides because I'm not invested in either one. I'm just more interested in the truth and the knowledge and the wisdom than I am in being right, because being right is playing into your ego, and I'm just not an egoist. I leave that up to my parents. That was their thing. So, 5 pounds. I trash 5 pounds of pot. Wow. Okay. Okay. Send me that, man. No way. Why send me that, man? Okay, I don't know who sent you what. You are too smart to be paying attention to them. Yeah, okay, well, okay. Was just another stoner. My lung made me quit. You know what? I found that riding a bike really fixed my lungs. After that 1,000 miles I rode on a bike, I don't wheeze like I used to. I don't have the smoker's hack like I used to or anything else like that. Okay, I outgrew dope 10 years back. Now just smoke some booze. Yeah, I don't like booze, and after what I experienced the last couple of days, that was alcohol related, because I drank for a couple of days. It wasn't good. Okay. Barely surviving. Fortunately, grown up. Daughter still love us and moved back home to help. Well, you're good to have a family and to build a strong family unit. I think that's where most boomers went wrong, is that they destroyed their family for their own vanity. And I see a lot of this in my comments. I was saying, send me the 5 pounds of pot that the other guy threw away. Yeah, oh man, yeah, no, send me an ounce. I don't want anything more than that, because I in some places anything more than an ounce is criminal, and like here in Florida, it's decriminalized, or in Louisiana, it's decriminalized as long as you have like less than an ounce. So never keep more than an ounce on you. Okay. Oh wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to go look at it. That way, okay, look at the surroundings so you can find out what dumpster he put it in. So that's actually how I found my jump spot in New Orleans. I looked at the surroundings and used the Google Maps and stuff like that. Crap, it's about to start raining and I haven't gotten my tarp up. I may have to end this here in a few minutes if it starts raining. It's not supposed to start until about 5 o'clock. That's why I did this early. Okay, booze is more my jam, long as I don't black out. I've only had one blackout, and that was with Slack and Fishbone, and that was because I was on my second bottle of rum. And I'll never do that again. Definitely won't do that again. But anyways, all right. Let me answer. I found out where our local food bank pantry is once in a while doing errands. I stop and get a large box of free food. It's all donations from local supermarkets. Save a lot of money. Yes, but there's also stories where these migrants are getting in the front of the line, and then they're the ones walking out, and the people that actually need it aren't getting it. Okay. Still in Michigan. Well, I may end up seeing you this year if things go the way that I think they're going. Okay. So because I'm gonna have to wrap this up. Hey, if you guys let me tell you what's going on as far as what we're gonna be doing next week, as far as my bus ticket and stuff like that. And then I'm gonna have to close this because it's about to start running. It's already starting to sprinkle. I need to get my tarp up and everything so that I stay dry. Okay, so I've been looking at it at the maps and the trails. Now there is a trail. There are two trails that intersect around Denver. There's the Great Divide, and then there's one that goes east to west, starts in New York, ends in somewhere in Northern California. I think San Francisco. Um, and it's a great intersection. I think that's my first choice to go. I know it's going to be a little bit cold, but I think because I can walk from Denver to Cincinnati, go through Kentucky. I can even make it to New York, and I can make it to the East Coast, or I can come back, or I can go north and south through the Great Divide Trail. I think that right now with what's going on at the border, the Great Divide Trail may not be my best bet. I'm going to have to learn how to live in cold winters because they're not willing to, they come from a warm climate. They're not used to the cold. So they're going to avoid those areas. So if I want to be safe, I think that that's going to be one of my best bets. Okay. So I think that it's really a decent bet to kind of stay north as much as possible. And, I can make it west. A lot of the states that I'll be going through have legalized marijuana, so I can stop in at the dispensary. And, okay, I want to be able to stop by a dispensary and know what I'm getting, because the stuff here on the streets, even in New Orleans, they're giving you Delta 9, they're giving you, they're giving you spice. They're not giving you the real thing. They're giving you swag. And it really sucks because it's becoming harder to find it because white dope is taking over all over the place. Okay, and I think white dope is going to be the biggest downfall for the homeless population, because that will be the excuse. Between that and a health hazard, that will be the excuse that the politicians use to be able to round us up and put us in homeless camps. Also, I don't think that there's a lot of homeless in the northern trails for the weather reasons. So, I mean, it takes you through the Midwest. I think I would even go through North Dakota and Kansas, or I'd at least skirt the border. It's like the Great American Route or something like that. I'll have to tell you about it in another video. But I think what's going to end up happening is so a lot of you have said, hey, look, I don't want to go over to Patreon. I like YouTube, and that's fine. That's what your guys' thing to do is. Okay. But I do want to be able to peel as many people off and build myself my income over there, because of I see that YouTube eventually, like, you see some of the comments being retracted, you see videos being deleted, you see videos being suppressed, and for various reasons. And it gets to a point where if you want to make a livable income and you don't want to worry and look over your shoulder to wonder what's going to happen to you, you're going to have to at some point migrate away from Patreon migrate away from YouTube to something like Patreon and a website. So that is what I'm going to be working on. I think what will end up happening is I will keep doing the videos that I'm doing over here. Live streams, I will probably do one live stream over here, one live stream over there. Okay, as far as like my trail content, what I'm doing, my trail gardens, and kind of how I'm building my off-grid stuff, that is all going to be on Patreon. I think that will be what will be the teaser that brings people over to Patreon to watch my free videos. I'll put plenty of free videos up about what I'm doing on my trail as far as that, because also even train hoppers, they're using YouTube to catch train hoppers, and they're giving them tickets and all kinds of other stuff because they're using it. And I don't want to have the things that I'm doing, because it's not necessarily illegal, because it's not illegal to survive, but they have made laws because it is a conflict of their interest. Okay. And I don't want to get caught up in all of that, but I really am, and I'm really going to be making a push. So any of you that want to come over to Patreon, I have 2 tiers right now. I'm going to add a 3rd tier. So the 1 tier is hobo tutorials, and which I think one person made a comment and called it Hobo University, and I think that might be a little bit better, and maybe I can even do collaboration with some upstanding hobos that I run across, so that we can share the knowledge, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be dispossessed. There's going to be a lot of people that can't afford to live, and they're going to be out here with me and the other homeless, and they're going to get caught up in all this stuff, and they're going to be called useless eaters, and they're going to be screwed over. Okay. But whatever we can do to kind of help make your experience to where you learn about it, you can at least know what you're doing, have the knowledge, because there are certain things that if you don't know, you're going to get taken advantage of. For example, I had a guy, he's like, I asked him where the park was, and then he follows me, and we end up smoking a bowl of my Delta 9. He's like, well, I'm going to go get some real stuff. And he's like, you want to come with? And then we're sitting down and we're smoking, and he's like, yeah. He asked me about, how much, are you a hairy person? And I'm like, no, I'm Irish. Why are you asking? He's like, oh, well, I have a hair fetish. And then he starts telling me how he wants to get naked and straight, and I'm just like, oh, time to go, type thing. And the thing is if you're not careful, you will run across people like that, because the homeless is where predators hang out. I knew a gay guy that used to, the guys that he would pick up were okay with the fact that he roofied them, because they wanted the money, they just didn't want to remember it. But that was how he went and found his boys, and the ones that he liked, as when he would start driving downtown, they'd see his car, they'd raise their shirt and see if he liked him or not. So it is what it is. But whoever was trying to troll me and say that you give me $100 for doing tweak on here, no, not going to happen. But you can definitely give me that $100. I'll put it to good use, because I really want to be able to have some money to get me at least an eighth when I get to New Mexico or Denver, because I really, really would like to go in there and have something for the trail. But it will be what it is, at least while I'm waiting to grow my own stuff. So it is what it is. But anyways, guys, you know how to help the channel. Become a subscriber. Come on over to Patreon. Leave me a tip in the tip jar. All that stuff, you know what to do. Anything helps at this point in time, because I'm spending most of my YouTube money on getting traveling, just because I'm not hopping trains. Part of it's knowledge, part of it is I don't want to deal with the illegal consequences of getting caught and having Sam, because Sam is a snitching ass dog. She will snitch you out in a heartbeat, and I can't trust her, and I don't want to put myself or her in that position. So, all right. So let me read the last few. Our mission is called Sub-Zero, mostly unhoused veterans, but now it's just veterans helping the unhoused. Okay, that is good. Street dope isn't the same anymore. Back when I was selling, you knew what it was. Yeah, exactly. People, it used to be you ask for weed, people will give you weed, and now it's like, the white dopers, they don't even know what weed is, and they're just selling you whatever it is because they want to make some money. They're just more worried about their dope. Keep in touch, Fire Tuck. My channel is taking off. Teamed up with Phobos Knives. Yeah, I saw that, and and I also saw those ribs, man. Those look good. Those look really, really good. I wanted some so bad. So I'd never go to Michigan as it's too close to Canada. Maybe, but I wouldn't go to Texas because weed is not legal. They don't even have medical marijuana there. So they're going to be one of the last states to ever legalize it if it does get legalized. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Yeah, at least I know Snam's a snitch. Yeah. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching, and I will see you on Tuesdays is when I'm going to be doing the live streams on YouTube for sure. Saturdays I'm going to save that for Patreon. I will be posting it in the community section with the time, so that you can go there and click the link, and we're gonna kind of work this out a little bit so that some of you guys can get at least get over there, see what it's like, realize it's not so bad, and you might actually like it. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.